What's up guys, it's your man KP67s bringing you another Imperial Academy video today. We've already discussed what would be, I guess, the ideal Empire team for you to currently go up against this current meta. Thrawn, Death Trooper, Krennic, Shore Trooper, and Stormtrooper. Today we're going to be going into ancillary characters. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Grand Moff Tarkin. So Grand Moff Tarkin is another Empire support character as well as a fleet commander. He controls the ship Executrix. I'll do a later video describing Executrix more in depth, but I'll briefly mention it towards the end. With respect to Tarkin's stats, as you can see, his tactics are the best stat that he's got, so he's going to have a pretty good physical and special damage output. However, his health and his armor ratings are not going to be the best in the world. Subpar to kind of average, I guess you could say. Generally, his health and protection, I don't really have him modded the best right now, but like currently I have him at about a little less than 50k health and protection together. His speed, not the best. Again, I gotta remod him a little bit. His potency, as you can see, is like off the charts high, but I'll go into why I did that in a little bit. His physical damage, nothing to write home about, pretty average for most Empire characters, 2460 here. Same thing with his armor, nothing too special. And his special damage is, it's pretty decent for a special attacker, 3679. I could probably get that a little higher, but again, it's just going to take a little bit of modding to do so. So where can you find Tarkin's shards? Well, Tarkin is located in the Squad Arena store here. And his shards can be picked up for 5 shards per 400 currency. So if you're doing decently well in Arena, you can probably get 5, maybe 10 shards a day of Tarkin. So he's a pretty easy farm if you focus entirely on just Tarkin farming through the Squad Arena. With respect to Tarkin's gearing here, his gearing is not the worst in the world, thankfully. He only requires 3 Carbantes and 2 stun guns in this case. The only other gear piece that he has a lot required is the Mark V Lorinars, but again, if you do the Mace Windu challenge, you probably should have a pretty good stockpile of the Mark V Lorinars, especially when you get towards the end game and you get that final tier open. So with respect to Tarkin's abilities, we start off with his basic Grand Moff's attack. In this case, we deal physical damage to 1 target. This attack deals 10% more damage for each living ally, and after Tarkin's unique, that was in June, he now gains 50% potency, which stacks until the next time he uses his first special ultimate firepower. If you mod him for a little bit more offensively, he can do about 10k damage per hit with a full squad, so it's not like, nothing to sneeze at. So it's pretty useful, as well as the potency, which gets us to ultimate firepower. So ultimate firepower deals special damage to all enemies with a 100% chance to remove 50% of their turn meter. Of course, this isn't guaranteed. It's not like it can't be resisted, so you could get resisted in this case. This attack gains offense equal to double Tarkin's potency percentage. Now you can see why I modded Tarkin's potency to be as high as it was, because he's essentially gaining double his percentage onto his offense as well as whatever he's stacking. So all put together, his AoE can do a lot of damage, but only if the battle is going to be prolonged. If it's going to be an arena battle, do not expect this to work as effectively as I'm describing it, because you don't want the battle to be going on forever. You want to try to finish it as soon as possible. And if you're reaching 4 minutes, then it's okay. It does decent damage, but it does a lot better in situations like the Rancor, where on auto in certain phases, he can just keep stacking, and then drop the AoE to do an insane amount of damage in one shot. His next special is Intimidation Tactics. This one does no damage, and all he does is that he gains potency up for 3 turns, so an extra 25% potency. And he inflicts crit chance down and offense down for 3 turns on all enemies. And for rebels specifically, they can't resist these debuffs. Once this is done, he gains 15% turn meter for each debuffed enemy. So if he lands all 5 debuffed enemies, if he debuffs all 5 of them, then he's going to gain 75% turn meter. If you have Shore Trooper up, he's going to gain an extra 15% turn meter on top of that. And I think with Thrawn as well, if you're using a special and Fracture's already done, he's going to gain an additional 15% on top of that. So he can go back to back between Intimidation Tactics and Ultimate Firepower, which is very useful at gaining an advantage over your opponent. His lead here, initially before the Zeta, reads is Tighten the Grip, where Empire allies gain 28 speed, and he inflicts defense down for 2 turns on enemies that fall below 100% health during an Empire ally's turn, and this can't be resisted. If you Zeta it, he gains an extra 2 speed to bring him to 30 speed, and then he can inflict Expose onto anybody who drops below 100% health. This is very useful in certain compositions, especially if you run Emperor Palpatine. As you can see, using Let the Hate Flow, you can immediately throw on a defense down and an Expose on your enemies and start hitting them as hard as you possibly can. You know, like the problem with this is that although he gives you a good flat speed base, he doesn't give you any turn meter, and honestly, if you want to meta team, you need a combination of both. Whether it's both in one leadership or one leader and in a unique, you need turn meter if you want to be competitive, because if you're not gaining turn meter, it doesn't matter how fast you may start off, the other team can catch up and can surpass you, and if they're heavy DPS hitters, they will out damage you as well. And then finally, we get into Callous Conviction, which is a new unique that was given to Tarkin at his rework. So before the Zeta, it reads as Grand Moff Tarkin gains defense equal to his potency percentage. So whatever potency level he has, he's going to gain that much defense. And if you add the Zeta, he gains 20% potency per debuffed enemy. As you can see, potency is a key stat for Tarkin. Effectively, if you mod him to 100% potency before the battle even starts, he already starts with 100% defense. You throw down all his debuffs and he gains another 100% defense. So he's got 200 defense, so basically nobody's hitting him for anything significant, which really helps given his low base health and protection in this case. So it's a really clutch unique actually, and really makes Tarkin very viable in arena situations. So after discussing that, we're going to go into his mods a little bit. As you can see, I basically just dumped a ton of potency into him for exactly the reason that I was giving. Basically, he starts off as one of the tankiest support characters that you can pump out. You know, a crit from Commander Luke Skywalker does 5,000 damage, which is compressed even more, so that way he barely loses any protection. Otherwise, most of the characters are basically only doing like maybe 1,200-1,300 damage to him. He is literally laughing off any damage, especially if they're debuffed with crit chance down and offense down. Obviously, you want speed on the primary. You want protection across the triangle and the circle. I don't have protection in this case. And here I put potency as well, just to give him that extra oomph of potency. With respect to his secondaries, speed, of course, #1 name of the game, it's Galaxy of Speed. I would also try to focus on increasing his potency and his offensive abilities, to be honest. By increasing your potency, you don't really need to increase his defense because he's gaining a lot of it from potency. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone in that sense. So offense, speed, potency are my big 3 that I would try to aim for. Anything else after that is just gravy. And then with respect to Tarkin's uses in this case, Tarkin, again, like I said, can be used in the arena. If you don't happen to have Krennic unlocked yet, because Krennic is a hard farm, Tarkin's a substantially easier farm, and you can use Krennic very successfully in your composition. He can also, obviously, he's a good fleet commander for ships as well, when you look at the Executrix, as you can see right here. And Executrix is very powerful, especially when we get to the Imperial Assault, where he essentially just wipes the board. It's like an automatic I win button. The trick is just to get to be able to use that. If you can use your Imperial Assault ability, you basically just win the match. So like I said, with Tarkin's uses, you can use him anywhere. Arena, Galactic War, I use him for the Rancor raid. I know he can be used in the Imperial Grand Maneuver team in the Phase 3 Heroic AAT tank raid. And he's probably going to be a pretty clutch player when it comes to dark side territory battles as well, because of the fact that he can really lower damage and suppress enemy turns. So overall, I really do think that Tarkin is a great character to use. I do think his best utility is in using him as a true support character and not as a leader. Thrawn kind of dethroned Tarkin in that case. If Thrawn didn't exist, I would say use Tarkin because of the extra speed. But since Thrawn gives you turn meter advantage, Thrawn kind of outdoes Tarkin in that sense, in addition to giving you extra offense, extra protection, etc. So if you have no other choice, you can use Tarkin as lead, but if you have other choices, then Tarkin works perfectly fine as a true support character. Alright guys, I hope you liked the little review on Grand Moff Tarkin here. If you liked it, leave a like on the video. If you have any comments that you'd like to improve, like, you know, this video series, please go ahead, leave a comment. I'm going to try to put out a couple more because now I actually have some time, so I really hope you guys are enjoying this and learning a lot. Alright guys, have a good night.